Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today we have my Infinite deck and Keen Koala's amazing Quake Infinite deck. These are two decks that are very distinct, that you're not going to see all over the place, but that are very powerful in that they are complete surprises to opponents. It took me an extra couple days to hit Infinite this season. I started work again. I'm a teacher. The school year began, and so I had less time to play. So I ended up hitting Infinite Sunday morning as soon as I woke up. As I was laying around, I was playing on my phone, so I didn't bother to grab stats. But I basically went from 94 to 100 in a half hour and lost minimal games with this deck. If you are struggling to hit Infinite, please don't think that you're hitting it slowly. It's built to take most of the month. It's just that some of us who've been doing it every season, this is my 11th straight Infinite, are in an MMR, which is like the game's ranking system, where we end up seeing a lot of bots. I ended up, my post Infinite play is like atrocious and always has been previously. I would basically just play terrible decks to they eventually started locking our floors on Infinite, but I played terrible decks post Infinite to just get my dailies done and did like a lot of testing in post Infinite when that was basically casual mode. So I've constantly like tanked my MMR post Infinite before they started locking it as a floor, uh, which is a little annoying. But now I'm ranked like 3,400 as an Infinite player, which I think is reasonable considering like I've never really cared about how high post Infinite I climb. I basically hit Infinite and then stop playing ladder at this point. I don't know if that's going to change with the new system, but please, if you're not hitting Infinite quickly or easily, don't feel like it's a you thing. It's a way the game is set up thing. Infinite, the more you hit Infinite, the easier it is to hit Infinite, which I think is actually reasonably cool if you think about it, because there's no like great sense of accomplishment doing something for the 11th time, right? So like just make it go quickly. But doing it the first couple times is like this really difficult, complex grind, and it really involves a lot. And like making that a valuable experience the first two or three times I did it, it was, I think, is pretty cool. So I hit Infinite, and slightly slower than I would usually, but still relatively quickly considering everything else. We're going to talk about the deck momentarily, but first I'd like you to hit subscribe. What we do on this channel is we bring you more off-meta decks that are proven to succeed in Marvel Snap. These decks can get you Infinite, they can get you Infinity Borders, they can help you achieve your goals in Snap. We bring you at least two every single weekday, very often more. These are decks you will generally not find anywhere else, and we very often crack the meta before the bigger creators notice. We find the best decks really, really fast here on this channel. We are also the home to the biggest giveaway in Marvel Snap. We're still giving away, we've given away 5 already. We're still giving away 10 more Loki season passes. If you haven't grabbed Loki yet, you want Loki for free, all you have to do is subscribe and comment. Every video from last, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, to this coming Thursday, a couple days from now, is a chance to win a Loki season pass. As long as you're subbed and you're commenting, you're entered to win. So if you'd like a Loki season pass, please do so. But even if you already have Loki, we'd appreciate a comment. It helps us with that YouTube algorithm. It costs you nothing but 10 seconds of your time, and it helps us, and we appreciate it. So if you're willing, please do so. We've got 2 people we're still waiting to collect their season passes. They are Mimichu and Tekher. If you are one of these people, please pause the video and do what this says. We believe in deck credits here on this channel. We have Safety Blade is the creator of My Infinite Deck. He didn't do a specific post about this. This was like a sub post that he was sort of joking about, and I was like, oh, that looks fun. And I grabbed it, and I immediately have been kicking butt with it. It's now been a bit since I hit Infinite, and I played it some more, and it just keeps winning. The deck is really strong. We're going to go over why momentarily. You can find Safety Blade on twitter.com at safetyblade_HS and at twitch.tv/safetyblade. The second deck is from Keen Koala, one of our friends. Keen always hits Infinite using a Quake brew. It's his thing. Infinite with Quake every single season. You can find Keen at twitter.com/Keen Koala. So make sure you check out their stuff. This is my Loki season Infinite deck. It is silly. There's no other way to put it. It is an absolutely straight up silly deck. So if anyone is new here, by the way, what is shown in these videos, for the most part, is the variants I have and use for these cards. This is the variants I use for the Loki deck. I actually just pulled the Hip Nebula, and I've already got the Spotlight Nebula and this Nebula, and I'm immediately switching to the Hip. I've also got Hip Hobgoblin, which I use, and Hip Wave, which I use. Hips are the best variants. Don't at me. Okay, so we've got Nebula and Snowguard as like early plays. Snowguard is amazing with Galactus because it can let you Galactus in a location that they're not like overcommitted to. It can make you think. It can make your opponent think on turn like 4 or 5 that you're going to be playing in like that Death's Domain that you have no interest in, and then you Galactus elsewhere. It's really cool. Nebula also encourages your opponent to put power and points in a lane that's not the lane you're really going for. Daredevil is amazing information for the deck. Jeff lets you like sort of fake out where you're going to Galactus. You can play Jeff kind of wherever and then move it over somewhere else and then drop a Galactus there. Um, we've got Electro and Wave, which are obviously Galactus enablers. They are your ramp cards. Now we've got Loki. Loki is terrible with Electro. Let's come back to Loki and continue with the like Galactus build. The only card that really supports Loki like specifically in this deck is Snowguard. Shang-Chi is great because sometimes you get a Galactus off because you had priority, and they're dropping something humongous there, right? They're dropping a Devil Dino, they're dropping. Well, you can spend the last turn of the game Shang-Chiing that away. And just a Shang-Chi and Galactus is 10 points. A Shang-Chi Galactus, and then if you can drop a Jeff there or something, is 13 points, and that's very often enough to win that lane. Also, your Galactus will often kill enough so that you can Shang and Death, which is just the meanest feeling in the world. Hobgoblin is amazing with Electro or Wave. It's your play on 5 with Wave, your play on 4 with Electro. It basically says, I will be way ahead here. Hobgoblin and Galactus is 15 power worth that your opponent has to outdo. Professor X is your Shang protection. One of my favorite things to do has been very often I'm getting a free death because people are playing such floody stuff. And then I'm going Galactus and I'm going Death and Professor X, and they try and Shang me, and it just bounces right off because I also play Professor X. You can also conceivably, it's much harder to do and much more dangerous. You better know your opponent's deck. You could also conceivably, if you got your Galactus off on 4, just Professor X on 5 and say, well, unless you have like enough to go way over me, I win this lane. And you can still drop Jeff there too. That's still 13 power they have to get over. It's not the best play, but it's still a good play. And Death just gets super cheap because Galactus destroys a lot of stuff. What the hell is Loki doing? Well, what Loki's doing in this deck is anyone who's played Galactus knows Galactus isn't consistent. Sometimes Galactus is really hard to get off. Sometimes Galactus never shows up. Sometimes you're kind of sad. Well, if you don't Electro, if you're playing literally any other play pattern for the deck, you can hold a little bit in hand, then you can Loki. You're getting 3 or 4 new cards discounted. You're still going to draw some more of your cards, which are at least decent on rate, right? And like if you turn 4, turn 5 Loki, you've got a full hand of their stuff that's cheap, and you just flood them to death with their own cards. And you very often win because their stuff is cheaper on your side of the board. It works out really well. It's a hilarious backup plan. I'm starting to believe that backup plan should be like just in most decks. Most decks should run like a Snowguard Loki and then choose based on what they have between Collector and Quinjet. That's where I am right now. I think Loki is completely busted in this. Like there were games where my opponent like clearly read I had Galactus. I'd go like Nebula, Daredevil, um, Wave, and like they just have a lot of power, right? And I'm like, all right, they're gonna go wide, and like, but they can only play one card, right? So I'm just gonna Loki and steal all their stuff, or Hobgoblin a spot, or Death a spot, and then I'll spend turn 5 Loki, and then I'll just drop things all over the place on them. It works great, and it steals so many cubes. I don't think I won 2 cubes without like it being the early snap Galactus retreat almost ever. Okay, some replacements. Snow Guard can be Agent 13, so can Nebula, just for the record. Either one can be Agent 13, just fine. Jeff can be anything from Agent Coulson to Collector to Nightcrawler. Basically, you're choosing between an extra Galactus card, like a Yondu would also fit here, or an extra Loki card. Any of that works. These are the filler cards of the deck. Going back really quickly, the important cards here are Galactus, Death, Hobgoblin, the 2 ramp cards, Electro and Wave, Loki, and Shang-Chi. Everything else is replaceable. I really like Daredevil here, but you don't need him. Everything else is replaceable or changeable. Don't hesitate to experiment with those spots. So you want to keep that whole bottom row of cards, Death, Galactus, Professor X, Hobgoblin, Shang-Chi, Loki, and then you want to keep Wave and Electro, and that leaves you the early curve of 4 cards to mess with. Turn by turn, and the theory of this deck, number 1 is always the theory, nobody ever expects Galactus. Galactus is unfreaking real in the meta right now. Either people are playing combo decks where they're trying to like stack stuff and you just drop Galactus and say, thank you for trying that, but that was a cute idea. Thanks for having no power anywhere else, and you win. Or they're trying to do Loki nonsense, and then they just don't have enough power throughout the board, right? Like they've telegraphed by playing Collector where all their power is. So you drop a Galactus somewhere else, and then you just play some cards on top of that. Have a great time, right? You can easily go over the top of that, and they have enough stuff to kill. Or they're playing a negative deck, and you're just like, all right, well, you've put like 2 or 3 or cheaper cards in this spot, right? Like you've got a negative and a bast in one spot, something along those lines. And like now you're really going to struggle to wrap up power. So I'm going to Galactus on and then like win. Have fun. There's 1,000 different ways to do stuff like that. They all work. So let's go to the turn by turn. Turn 1, you drop Nebula or Snowguard Blind. You don't want either one to be in the first location if the first location is somewhere you might Galactus later, so you play them blind. It's totally fine. Quick note, the bear is really solid here. It will very often either win a lane for you, like close it off by filling in squirrels, or with an energy location when you're ready, be your ramp into Galactus. So be ready to use that a lot. Also, the bird has a similar use where, like, if you open up a location that your opponent couldn't play at, they're very often going to like try and fill that location the one turn they can. Think Sanctum or Death's Domain. They're like, oh my god, I can win this location this turn. Let's just go over the top of them there, and then you could just drop Galactus elsewhere. Turn 2, you're dropping Daredevil or Jeff. Jeff can go anywhere, obviously, but Daredevil, you want to be on the same lane as that Nebula or Snowguard. You're just trying to maintain space. Turn 3, you're playing Wave or Electro. Ideally, if you're going to play either of them and have Galactus, you snap. You're going to lose a couple of those, but you generally win based on the current meta if you can get Galactus off, so you are snapping. If you Wave, do Galactus next. If you Electro, do Hobgoblin next. If you Galactus your next turn, you'd like to be Hobgoblin. It can also be Wave in a 2. Don't hesitate to make that Wave in a 2. Also, if your Death is cheap enough, you could sometimes play like just a Death and Professor X. It's completely busted. If you Hobgoblin on turn 4, you're Galactusing on turn 5. General rule of thumb. You're perfectly fine doing that. Now you've got 15 power in that lane they have to make up. If you are behind, if they dropped a Devil Dino and you like used that Galactus to win that lane before it revealed, your last play is very likely going to be Shang. Shang will shut down their Devil Dino. You now have 10 power there, and if you can manage to play either a Death or a Jeff with it, or whatever, 2-drop with it, you end up with a reasonable chunk of power that they have to. You can also just play Death and Professor X. It's great. And you Loki around turn 4, turn 5 if the Galactus plan isn't working. If you realize you either aren't seeing Galactus or, Galactus isn't happening, you just drop Loki, and instead of your deck, which didn't work, you play their deck, and maybe their deck will work out for you. It's so much fun. It feels like a different game every time. I don't like Galactus. Like, longtime viewers will know I waited till the very end to get Galactus. But this way of playing Galactus is a blast because, like, you're just like, oh no, my linear, boring game plan didn't work. All right, well, what you got? Oh, cool, thanks. I got a bunch of your cards now. You killed a bunch of stuff, and I grabbed your null. Now your null costs 5 for me. Like, you got a bunch of stuff, and now I've got your Collector and Loki. And I'm just going to drop your Collector and Loki and see what extra stuff I get. Or, oh man, I missed your Collector and Loki. Let's grab your Coulson and just drop that and see. Like, it's so cool. The only time I lost, like, badly, like, where I felt like I couldn't do anything, was when I played Electro. And then, like, I realized I didn't have my stuff set up, so be careful with Electro, because I wanted to Loki, but, like, Lokiing after Electro is kind of a bad play. So be wary of that, but short of that, enjoy. Also, if they Loki you, they very rarely have anything to do with your hand. Your hand is not good for them, or, well, their hand is usually amazing for you. This is the deck one more time. I strongly urge you to play it. This is the benefit of subscribing to this channel, because, like, almost no one's going to have this, know this, be playing this. They're going to stay in when you snap, and you're going to Galactus their face off and win a lot of cubes. Please, please, please try this deck. Let me know how it goes for you in the comments. Next up, we have Keen Koala's Infinite Quake in September. I just title it Keen Koala's Infinite Quake in whatever month so I can always find them. We cover Keen Koala's Infinite Quake deck every month because they're always different. They're always really, really cool. I also especially love this one. Again, remember, these are my variants. This deck has my favorite collection of variants, I think, of any deck I've ever featured here. Like, I love every single variant here. We've got 4 different hips, excuse me. I got to get used to Jeff being a hip now. We've got that awesome Alex Ross Invisible Woman and Doctor Doom for a little thematicness. The Silk and Quake fit really well together with also with the Craven. The Goose is unreal, and that is the best Storm. And Shang-Chi. I've got like 5 of these cards golded too. So like this is just extra great for me. Big fan. Those would be, by the way, Doom, Shang, Wave. No, not Wave. I need Wave. Wave is almost there. Wave is black and white. Doom, Shang, Storm are gold. And then like Craven, Killmonger, and Jeff already look gold, so I just left them up and figured I'd save my boosters. All right, this deck is sweet. It's unreal. Goose and Wave is a sick combo. This is like all about the 2-card combos. Craven and Silk is an amazing combo. Also goes with Jeff. Quake, Storm, and Doom all go together unbelievably well. Legion goes great with Storm and Silk and Quake. Sorry, and Silk and Jeff and Storm. Invisible Woman goes amazingly with Killmonger or Shang-Chi. There's a lot of really good stuff here. There's a lot of ways to win games this step. All right. If you don't have Legion, you can try Vision or Arrow. I think I kind of like Arrow better. Vision is better if you're having trouble winning the Storm lane. Arrow is better for right after Wave. Pick your poison. Jeff can be Nightcrawler or maybe Spider-Man. I don't love Nightcrawler since we're running Killmonger, so I'd try Spider-Man there. You really want Jeff. I wouldn't play this deck without Silk, though. I think Silk is ridiculously important. Also, it's amazing how quickly she went from like the best card in the meta to an also-ran in the meta when Loki came out, but that's where we are. It's a very good card still, and it will be back to the top of the meta, but it's not the best deck right now. Okay. This deck is going to take practice. You're going to need to learn 1,000 different playlines to be good at it. King Koala has like a million slideshow that eventually he's going to present, which will like teach this deck in detail, or this style of deck in detail. But for the time being, this is the basic strategy. You start by doing this and you adjust as you go. Got it? So like start with this strategy and then adjust. When I play the deck, this is not Keen's way of playing it. Keen has a whole list of locations and stuff that are snappable and so on, and a whole list of hands and opponent decks, and it all changes. I generally, because I'm playing such off-meta weirdness, wait for my opponent to snap and then snap it back. That's my personal strategy with this deck. It works really, really well. All right, turn 1 is a skip. You don't run 1-drops. Turn 2, you want Craven. You'll play any of the 2s except ideally Invisible Woman, but you'll even play that. But you really, really want a Craven. Turn 3, you Storm where you didn't Craven. Ideally, that is mid, but whatever. If you're going to have priority, it's mid. If you're not going to have priority, you really, really don't want it to be mid. In case they're like Storm Juggernauting, you'd rather like not have your Quake Juggernauted away and do nothing. Turn 4, you're going to Quake on Silk or Quake on whatever 2 you need. So Invisible is really good here. If you know you're going to later want to Shang or Killmonger, if they're setting up, like if you know that they're like they have this really clear Shuri lane and they're going to Shuri there, then dropping an Invisible Woman there isn't the worst idea ever. But like I'd really like to not play that. I really want it to be Quake and Silk or Quake and Jeff here. Quake and Goose is fine. Not as good, but fine. Turn 5, you can just win the game by Wave and Goosing. If you've won a Storm lane, right? The Storm lane is won, and you can turn 5, Wave and Goose, the game is over. That's like the spot where you really want to snap. At that point, you're just going to play Doom last turn and close the game. Don't hesitate when the opportunity presents itself based on locations. If you've got like turn 2 Silk, turn 3 Jeff, to turn 4 play Storm, and turn 5 Legion that Storm lane, but like that's the only real time I do that. And turn 6 you're Doom or Legioning. You can also, if they've got like a clear, like they've got a naked whatchamacallit, Red Skull somewhere, or Devil Dinosaur, but you've got priority because you won a Storm lane and like you're slightly ahead another lane, but you know that like you're not going to be able to. Both Invisible and Shang are 6 exact mana. You can just drop energy, where Mama from, you can just drop Invisible and Shang and don't not worry about that lane. That lane is then basically usually won. There's a lot of ways to win this deck. That is the most straightforward I could make it, but this deck is stupidly fun. I strongly urge you to first try this deck in Proving Ground so you can get a feel for it. This is not a deck to just be like, oh, I'm rank 97. Let's start playing this. You will likely lose ranks your first few games, but once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to win with because your opponent will have zero idea what the hell you're doing or how to play around because they'll have no experience with it. One more time, this is the deck. Goose to combo with Wave, and also a nice combo with Jeff, Silk, and Doom. We've got Craven, which combos with Jeff, Silk. We've got Invisible Woman to combo with Killmonger and Shang. That Kitty Shuri deck that's everywhere. Making that be dead with Invisible Woman into Killmonger is a joy. We've got Quake, which combos with Storm, Legion, Doom, and Silk. Storm, we already talked about. Wave is amazing with Goose, we already talked about. And Legion makes it all come together. The beautiful deck. Congrats, Keen, on yet another Infinite. Finally, hopefully you found value. Hopefully these are new decks to you, not decks you've seen anywhere else. You know these decks can hit Infinite because they already did. Skill and practice these decks can get you to Infinite. They can help you achieve your goals in Snap. Hopefully I've earned your sub, your like, your comment. Thank you so much for watching. Either which way. We'll be back later today with our Alioth decks, so don't miss it. Alioth decks coming this afternoon, along with a full Spotlight Cash guide for next week. See you later on today, and then tomorrow.